Welcome to the review vlog for RWBY Volume 1. Let's see if I can make this under 15 minutes. So let's get on immediately with the actual review. So, the show is indeed something that it shouldn't be judged based on the merits of. Basically, it shouldn't be judged on the same level that most animations are, mostly because of the limited resources and time available for the creator, as well as naturally the other pressures that were put on him. I think it's him. I'm pretty sure. Oh, right, it's him. So, yeah. However, I generally do still judge it based on their similar merits. I base my judgment on the same level that other shows are, so I'm not going to go easy on it. However, the show is certainly made so, like, it's made with the one single purpose in mind. Well, not really, but specifically, it's made to be fun to watch. And certainly it doesn't maybe require you to be so, shall we say, attentive. It doesn't require you to think about things all that much. I mean, you can, and there are certainly things in the first volume that are hinting at potential for the future. And there are things that are quite well done and quite intelligent and clever. I'm not saying it's a stupid show by any means, but rather that it's made to be enjoyable without you having to pay too much attention to it. And I really do compare it to a popcorn flick. Which is not to say it's bad, but rather to say it's enjoyable. That it's something where you can just chill out and relax and enjoy the ride. Sure, it has a very specific style of humor, which definitely won't be for everyone, and I must admit it's not really all that much meant for me. However, I can still appreciate it, and it is considerably well done considering the kind of general tone that it has, and it has its shining moments. Mentioning, well, specifically the battles, as those are its main draw, and they are so good. Specifically the fighting choreography and synchronization with music, and as well as the creative use of different team compositions, even though we haven't seen that many of those so far. However, we have seen one fight which used the abilities of every team member very well, I feel. But let's get on with the specific categories of analysis. So, first off, let's talk about the sound design. And this is where it both is great and maybe a bit lacking. First off, the soundtrack in the background is usually very good. Usually. Like, there are some tracks that are maybe not as good, and some that are maybe a bit, shall we say, too extravagant, and that may draw some attention away. And sometimes the soundtrack is very plain. However, other times the music is really good for that. Like, it is very good for the scenes sometimes. Well, again, specifically for the battles. They have some soundtracks that support the actions and the general tone of the show and the mood really well. So that can't be taken away from the show. The soundtrack is really good. Voice acting, however, is something that is a very hit and miss based on everyone's personal preferences. Some voice actors are just basically really good. However, some of them are very personal, very much based on a personal opinion. For some, really good, for some, really bad. Or maybe not to the extreme ends, but rather in the middle they can be either kind of irritating or kind of good. But that's again based... Okay, yeah, I'm talking about RWBY's voice actor. However, I personally found her to be adorable. She really does fit for her character, even though it does have its flaws. I like it. And that's what I'm basing my judgment on. Now, technically speaking, if I had to be completely critical... Well, actually, she isn't... Like, critically speaking, she isn't actually all that bad, but her voice is something that can certainly irritate people. Now, the other voice actors. It'll be interesting to see... I have no complaints about everyone, although Vice might sound a bit too Valley Girl, though that's on purpose, and Yang can be a bit too aggressive, but that hasn't been all that evident yet, and it's like all of the voice actors are at the very least pretty good. Now, I must say, Blake is one where the voice acting will be something that I need to decide further on, because her actress is... It's evident that she is pretty good, at the very least, really good. However, I feel like the direction that was given to her was to make her sound plain and bored, specifically bored. However, I mean, she does have her emotional moments, so it's not completely, like, it isn't that she was completely emotionless. Definitely not. And she does have little sparkles of emotion here and there. However, I feel like she was really sheltering her emotions in the first parts. At least that's what I'm hoping, and I'm not hoping... I hope that the voice actor actually will get to shine. Because so far, she has been directed to be rather plain. But I have high hopes for her, as it does sound that there's a lot of potential for her voice actor. So, let's get on with the actual animation quality of the show. Well, this is a... the show has a lot of these polarizing things, but yeah, the animation is something where it's definitely not the best. Mostly in the way that they used 3D modeling with... I wouldn't maybe call it cel-shaded, but that's basically what it is. Well, yeah, I mean, it's cel-shaded, but you know. They used 3D modeling for the animation, which admittedly gives it a rather unique look. And it does support the dynamic feel of the battles, though it does have a lot of weak points to it. Mostly in the way that characters do end up having a lot of similarities. Mostly in the facial region, mostly in that their emotions, or rather their eyes specifically look kind of same, except they have different colors naturally, which actually they use the colors quite well, and their eye colors are rather different, so yeah. And but however, overall the animation, like, it definitely isn't sloppy, like it isn't static. They do move quite a bit, and they do have a lot of like expressive movement as well, and all that kind of things. So it isn't lazy, but it might feel and look lazy. It isn't, but you know, it is something where it might be a problem. But on the graphical design department, I actually really adore the show, mostly because it has a very minimalistic choice in colors, mostly in the way that they don't really have a lot of... they don't use a lot of shading or other gradual differences in color, but rather they use stark differences, like colors are very constant, and then they just rapidly shift from, or immediately shift, so there's a clear line where the color changes. Now, it again might be something that could be taken as lazy, but I feel like it emphasizes the show's simplicity rather well, and it's anyways clearer for the eye, and again, it's something that, since the action is fast-paced, the fact that you can immediately distinguish characters from the background is really important. And this, again, I must really point out this fact that it isn't lazy that they use simple colors, because they definitely have a lot of eye for color design, and though this is not my place to judge, they really have paid a lot of attention, especially to the background details. And they're even, like, they have a lot of details in their show, but they seem a lot more simplistic, so yeah, I feel like it's very well designed. And even though the show has, again, most of its qualities are something where they are very much based on your personal preference. But I personally think that you could not call it lazy by any means, or bad. Just something where you might not personally prefer it. And certainly I do feel like the design is something where they really can... I feel like the design is good, but I can see why some people wouldn't like it. On the other hand, the character design is something where they... since the faces are they have a lot of similar qualities, and they can look alike. The character designs, on the other hand, are something where it's unmistakable. They really have designed quite a wide variety of different kinds of characters, and they have gone on really overboard with it. Like, they have very distinct character traits for quite a lot, well, everybody, basically. You can immediately recognize a lot of the characters, and they have really went, like, they even focus on the whole color coding aspect, which admittedly is kind of strange, but or a bit unusual, rather. It's still rather nice, and it again supports it quite well, so yeah. But then we shall talk about the story, because, you know, story is always something where a show, which will make or break the show. Now, the show is simple, yet it's easy to understand, and it still has some intrigue to it. The world building, this first volume, definitely focused on world and character building. That much is evident. They have laid a good groundwork here for future volumes to build upon. The characters are simple and easy to understand, yet they hold some secrets to them that will be uncovered later on. At least, naturally, this is just a prediction and a hopeful estimate. So, the show has a lot of interesting groundwork done, and the show's setting, while it certainly is inspired by a lot of things, it certainly isn't uninspired. It's very obvious that they have copied quite a lot of influence from other pop culture, yet they are giving it its own spin, which I want to explore more. So with that being said, I'm not going to go deep into the characters, because they are simple. But I do love like them. They are really good, and they do supplement each other, or complement each other rather well, I feel. And I really like them. Actually, pretty much all of them. And they have really, again, the character designs are something where I personally very much like them, even though they have really emphasized one character trait for most characters, so take it or leave it, I suppose. I think it's just very well, because it makes the show very easy to approach and understand, yet the characters still hold a lot of depth and potential for development. They are not simple in the way that, like, they would be stupid or just very one-dimensional, but rather they are quick to understand, yet holding a lot of potential. It's not explored yet, but it hopefully will be in the future. So with that being said, I thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next volume, which will begin tomorrow. Thank you all so much. I'll hope to see you. Have a great day, and see you in the future. Have a great day, and I am just repeating myself. Thanks for watching. Ganmu out.